has Canon found a way to improve in-body image stabilization, a way to maintain optimal sensor tilt control when shooting in dynamic scenes, where the object, the scene, or the position of the photographer changes rapidly. And would these enhancements likely show up in the EOS R1 or the EOS R5 Mark II? Canon patent filing JP 2024-040284, which was filed originally on November the 11th, 2019, and then updated on February the 6th, 2024, but just published yesterday on March 25th, 2024, claims to solve the problem of maintaining optimal tilt control in a camera system where the scene changes, such as when the object being photographed changes, where the focus position and tilt angle need to be calculated quickly and accurately in order to ensure the best possible image quality. So Canon introduced their in-body image stabilization, or IBIS, back in 2020 with the Canon EOS R5 and the EOS R6 Mark II. But since then, they've found a way to improve or enhance the technology. All right, that's great. So how? Well, first of all, let me read you some Canon legalese from the patent application, and then I'll break it down into something a little bit more digestible. An image pickup apparatus, according to an embodiment, includes a tilt-shift control unit, configured to drive at least one of the image pickup elements, and an image pickup optical system that performs the tilt-shift control. It also requires a focus lens driving unit configured to drive the focus lens, and a plurality of control modes for performing focus correction using at least one of the tilt-shift control units, and the focus lens driving unit. I know what you're thinking. Well, you're thinking of two things. The first is, boy, is this hard to understand. This machine-translated Japanese legal and engineering jargon, it's not the easiest to follow. And the second thing you're thinking about is, Simon, you've got this all wrong. This is not about IBIS, an internal image stabilizing system that we find in the R5 and the R6 or the R6 Mark II. It's to do with tilt-shift lenses. I understand how you would think that, but this is definitely related to IBIS, I can tell you 100%. And let's give you some language to help show you that this is directed towards IBIS, and it's the sensor, because remember that sensor is being moved about in multiple directions. So X, Y, and Z, right? Backwards, forwards, tilting it. Anyhow, let me show you the language, and this will make it a little bit more clear. And the patent application details how, and this is very important here, how the tilt-shift control unit can adjust the tilt and shift of the image sensor of the imaging apparatus. Now you'll have to forgive me because it's time for a little bit of grammar, English grammar, specifically dealing with subject-verb agreement. So let's take a look at the verbal phrase tilt-shift control. Tilt-shift control of what? And that's where we have the agreement with the subject, which is the nominal phrase, imaging sensor or imaging apparatus, or if I remember correctly, the actual language in the patent is the tilt-shift control unit can adjust the tilt and shift of the image sensor. And while there is communication with the lens, it's not the focus of the tilt-shift mechanism. Tilt-shift lenses allow for creative effects and other perspective distortions, but IBIS is what allows the camera to steady the sensor under various conditions, so that way you can nail the shot each time. Take into account of the sensor, the camera moving in all three dimensions, X, Y, and Z. Okay, so to sum up, the first point that we want to bring from this patent application is that Canon has improved the image stabilization system of the sensor through all three dimensions, and that's X, Y, and Z. But the second point of the patent application has to do with the lens itself. And again, the machine translation is a little bit off here, but here goes. The driving unit of the lens controls the movement of the lens to adjust the focus with information received from the control unit. And this is one of the reasons why Canon states that cameras such as the Canon EOS R5 can provide about 4 to 5 stops of image stabilization. But when equipped with a lens such as the 24-105 or the 50mm f1.2, it can increase the level of image stabilization from 4 to 5 stops all the way up to 8 or 9 stops. And for IBIS to work properly, it does involve rapid micro movements of the sensor in all directions, which is why we see cameras such as the GH5 and GH6 provide better image stabilization, especially when shooting video. And this is not because Panasonic is just smarter and better able to produce this type of capability. It's because they're working with micro Four Thirds sensors. They're smaller, they're lighter. It takes less effort to move around than a large full-frame sensor, a large full-frame stacked sensor, such as that found in the Canon EOS R5 and likely in the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, the latter getting the stacked sensor. It's just how it is. Canon's innovation in JP 2024-04-0284 lies in the control mechanism that selects the appropriate control mode. There are multiple control modes here based on the number of objects in the scene, taking into account rapid movements within the scene or by the camera. This means that the camera can automatically adjust its focus and tilt shift settings based on how many different objects are in the frame, ensuring that each object is correctly focused and aligned. So there you have it, an improved image stabilization system. But the big question is, will we see this in new cameras such as the R7 Mark II, the R50 Mark II, the R5 Mark II, or even the Canon EOS R1? Well, as we've already seen from Canon, that internal image stabilization only shows up in some of the more expensive cameras. As far as the Canon EOS R5 Mark II and the Canon EOS R1, yes, definitely. But now I want to share a comment from Rock Politics. He says, I can tell from the comments that a lot of people think that these patents you're covering are new, so they can't possibly make it into the production for a year or more, if at all. What you're showing on all of these videos is that the patents were filed long before they were published. And he references the one from yesterday that was filed on September the 9th, 2022, and published on March the 22nd, 2024. And Rock Politics is bang on, because the patent we're covering today was initially filed all the way back in 2019, and as we know, IBIS did make its way into the Canon EOS R5. And then, of course, just on February the 6th, Canon updated the patent. And now that was just a month ago. So I can hear what you're thinking. Well, wait a minute, if they just updated it a month ago, those updates probably won't come out in the R5 Mark II and the R1, right? Well, no, not necessarily, because again, for them to update the patent, they would have already have done the work many months or even possibly years ahead of time. They could have done this back in 2022, but because they already had a patent filed, they didn't see the need to update the patent application, because by updating the patent application, it's almost like sending out a press release, because I check out these patents on a daily basis. Canon Rumors and other sites also follow patent applications, and I can guarantee you that their competitors do the same. So by delaying the filing of the update to the patent application to February the 6th, doesn't mean that we won't see the benefits come out in the Canon EOS R1 or the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. What it does definitely show, though, because I agree, there is a chance that we might not see these benefits, but one thing it definitely shows is Canon has been continuing to provide time and resources behind the research and development of this over other things they've been working on. And that shows that they're very serious about improving the IBIS system, or the internal image stabilization system. And that really makes a difference. It's not so much how fast it is, or can it approach the levels of stabilization that a micro Four Thirds camera can. That's nice, but with a heavier sensor, that's unlikely. But how it's able to move that sensor in all three dimensions to be able to create an image that isn't blurred at the top of the image because the sensor's tilted this way or that way, that gives us a very good image in low light situations. And that's the big plus. And if you want to stay up to date on all the latest regarding Canon patent filings, news on cameras, forecasting of the market, sales information, then go ahead and subscribe and make sure you also choose all notifications. And you also might want to follow me on X as well, because quite often I'll tweet out stuff on X that isn't quite big enough to have its own separate video. And if you're interested in supporting this channel without having to pay any fees or do Patreon, I'm not asking for any money, any donations. That's not how things work here at The Ordinary Filmmaker. But if you are looking at purchasing camera gear, lenses, or accessories from Adorama, B&H, or Amazon.com, then please consider using my affiliate links down below, these guys right here, because believe it or not, I get anywhere from 2 to 12% back, which helps support this channel, allows me to buy gear, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. You don't have to jump through hoops. You just click on the link. You can purchase what the link takes you to, or if you look at a bunch of other links on the site, as long as you're doing it within that sitting, I still get credit, and it's very much appreciated. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great week. We'll see you again soon. And don't be surprised if in the upcoming weeks, we start to finally get leaked information on the Canon EOS R5 Mark II, especially as it's supposed to be announced sometime next month in April. And April is just, well, it's less than a week away. So if it is happening, even at the end of April, we should start getting information, start getting validation, something very, very soon. If not, then it throws into light that whole idea of getting it at the end of the month. Because even if Canon's very good at holding on to secrets, the whole distribution channels, they're going to start to be notified because Canon's going to start shipping a lot of information. So the whole supply chain has to get ramped up for this. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great week, and we'll see you again soon.